And tonight, brothers and sisters, we have as a special guest this evening, we have Brother Dr. Willie Smart. And we're going to be talking about something special that he has done. And you'll find out a lot of information pertaining to diet, eating food, not eating food, and so forth and so on. But first and foremost, I want to welcome my guest, Brother Willie Smart, this evening, who has come here to share his life experience, really, in a manner of speaking. So, Brother Willie, I want to thank you for coming over.
Greetings, Brother Oginga. It's such a privilege to be here at WAIF. I kind of feel like this is the place that we all started, because I can remember one guy on the air and another guy standing outside with an antenna in his hand, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of like that. So,
Back in the day.
Back in the days, the Steve Williams and the Du Bois and the,
Yeah.
you know, and all them. And so...
Speaking of Du Bois, might be locating him in France pretty soon. Matter of fact, somebody, Dubmaster, called me with his number, and we trying to get a hold of him. So he hasn't been around for about 10, 12 years. So hopefully we'll get Steve, some of the old heads back here at WAIF, just to come in one day and sit in and talk about the old times.
But there's something to be said about consistency.
This is true.
And that's something that you have done, and something I've admired. You really stay consistent. That's how you begin to know things, is being consistent.
This is true.
So.
Well, brother, first of all, just a little bit about yourself. We're going to be talking about diet and fasting and how you got into the diet piece and the fast. Let's talk about that.
Well, I got into being interested in vegetarianism in the 70s, middle 70s. My mom took me and my sister to a Dick Gregory lecture, and at that point, Dick was still talking about diet, not so much conspiracy, you know. Mm-hmm. And I had never really heard about vegetarian, you know, and I always thought that was, I mean, it just was something that I knew was for me. Now, I didn't get with the piece, but my mother could tell the story of me coming home and seeing all the bottles of water that I had boiled, you know, that so that started it, and got into vegetarianism, and eventually got into the Mucusless Diet Healing System. And that's where we are right now, you know, just practicing the Mucusless Diet Healing System.
All right. So the Mucusless Diet Healing System, I know that there's a book called the Mucusless Diet Healing System, and that book is written by who?
Professor Arnold, Ehret.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I would like to, you know, kind of go into, let's talk a little bit about Professor Arnold Ehret, and just, you know, why he, if you will, got into this whole piece of the mucusless diet. You know, obviously he had studied something about, you know, the function of the human body.
Yeah.
And
well, he was sick himself.
Okay.
He was looking for some help, and he decided that there was information about, but he decided if he really wanted to see what health was about, he had to use his body to research on, because he knew some things in terms of Western medicine, but chronic illness was not his forte at that point when he got sick.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of started going to experts around the world and talking about chronic illness and trying to heal himself. And I guess he really got taken with that, after trying some things, fasting and traveling to Egypt and seeing people in Egypt just eat dates and go across the desert, and and so he started seeing something there. So he made that his life work, was to investigate physiology and to investigate something at that point that he deemed mucusless diet, because vegetarianism was going at that time, but he seen that even vegetarians got sick because of mucus poisoning. And so he looked at it a little deeper and started fasting and really got intense and became somebody that other people came to see when they were ill. Now, Western medicine, I mean, he was basically turning over Western medicine's principles, and that wasn't looked on favorably. But a lot of those doctors who didn't really like him because he was talking about Western medicine, when they got sick, they came to see him. Because he had a sanitarium where he was teaching people how to fast, do colonics, enemas, and using, putting them on a transitional diet of mucusless menu. And getting a lot of results.
And getting results.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, as you said that vegetarians get sick, and he found that vegetarians were getting sick.
Yeah.
And through mucus poisoning. So that says that even being a vegetarian, there's a number of things that vegetarians eat that produce mass amounts of mucus even without eating meat. And as you and I have talked many, many times before, is that the human body is a tubular body. I mean, we consume food, it goes through our mouth, and it's a piping system.
Yeah.
And as well as our pores, the air coming to our nostrils and going down to our lungs, and then the food and through our intestines and out, and then our veins where blood is carried. So when we, if you will, when one is just mucus poison.
And pus and mucus poison.
Pus and mucus poison. So let's find those
Pus
two.
is dead animal.
Okay.
Flush, eating. Mucus would be more grains and starches.
Which a lot of vegetarians eat.
Yeah. That's why vegetarian, especially now, is very. When I got into vegetarian, there's the foods were terrible. I mean, the soy hot dogs and just all that stuff, and I never got into that.
And those were processed foods.
Yeah, well, I mean, it just tastes like cardboard. I mean, but now it's very easy to become a vegetarian because they have things like riblets and chicken McNuggets and just everything. So what it is just you just switch it from pus to mucus, and really that mucus will kill you faster than that pus because you have to consume even more of that mucus to fill yourself up. And you notice a lot of vegetarians have a lot of weight on them. You see, so that's like 1 + 1 is 17.
All right, now the holistic community and its practitioners, and obviously with the knowledge that quote unquote the holistic community has, there are those who, if you will, who have been to universities and got training in nutrition, and a lot of times they will tell people to eat grains, to eat the kinds of things that are mucus producing.
That's what they eat.
That's what they eat, and it's through their orientation in the whole health piece that something has been omitted about what clogs up the body and what creates all these functions, these problems inside the body. I want to kind of move because we got a lot of time. We'll be able to go up until 11. You'll be able to stay here, right? Up until that time. All right. There's some fine points that we want to address, and then there's some other questions that might come to mind. But just in terms of where you're at in this, you had that opportunity to see Dick Gregory and kind of follow where he's at, and you took it a step further. But more than anything else, you have, if you will, experimented with yourself. It's not just reading a book, not someone telling you, okay, do this, do that. You did it, and you're doing it. And you've been
to live it,
and you're living it. So you fasted, and you're coming, and part of why we're here this evening, and of course we were supposed to be here last week, but we're here now, is that you're coming off of a long fast, correct? And how long is that?
Actually, it started in 2003, April 4th. Now, my wife, who some of the WAIF listeners remember from Sister Talk,
sure,
Benita.
Dr. Benita.
Yeah, well, she would call a fast based on the rebellion, Timothy Thomas rebellion. When that started around the next year, she would call a fast every year to the revolutionaries. Now, I don't know how many of the so-called revolutionaries fasted. What we were looking at was the ultimate boycott, sure, not eating, you dig, and not waiting for anyone to give us our demands. When you fast like that, you at least get health out of it. So you get your return right back. And we were looking at that. So she was calling these fasts, and I started eating just fruit back in 2001. And so it has been that kind of journey for me. And in 2003, when she called this last fast, I went 100 days. I started April 4th, 2003, went 100 days, started back eating the end of July till November, beginning of November, and I started the fast in November, and I just came off of it yesterday. So it was 8 months and a little over 8 months, altogether about 15 months fast. 8 months,
and for the listeners out there in the audience, we're talking about, and I'm looking at this brother, I'm not talking to a machine, but 8 months without consuming any food at all.
8 months without consuming any food.
Okay. How about any liquids at all?
Yeah, no water.
No water?
No water at all.
Okay.
Pineapple juice in the evening, and every 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
Pineapple juice.
Okay.
Yeah.
In breaking a long fast like that, obviously you don't go back and just eat a whole bowl of fruit. But how would you come back into?
Well, I ate a little watermelon, and I paid dearly. I paid dearly for it, but it shows you about how food is a stimulant, how food is the drug, the heaviest drug that we know. I mean, it makes heroin and cocaine and crack look like little gumdrops. I mean, food is the drug, and because our bodies are air gas engines, the food is a stimulant, and what it did to me yesterday was actually put me to sleep in the middle of the day for about a half hour. It just took me out.
Energy, as far as energy, because people think in terms of no food, no energy, weak, just crawling around. But obviously that was at the beginning for you when you first dealt with a very long fast, or because you had fasted before, your body was kind of prepared for it?
Well, it's the Mucusless Diet Healing System is all about transition.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about transitional diet.
Mm-hmm.
Doing everything comfortably and really watching the changes. That's the beauty of this thing, is watching the changes.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people won't get into the Mucusless Diet Healing System, and if they do, they kind of bail out pretty quick because you're going to get weak, because this is a regenerational process.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say you're going to get weak, what happens is you are regenerating yourself. So you're going down. You see what I'm saying? You're coming down off this high.
Mm-hmm.
See, so you're transitioning yourself away from flush, dairy, starches, and grains. And that's not to say on the transitional diet you eat some starch and some grains.
Mm-hmm.
Do your enemas every day.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost mandatory that you get into enemas.
Now, just in reading literature in the past, and hearing lectures of people, some believe that if you do an enema every day, once a day, twice a day, 3 times a day, and it seems that obviously you're cleaning yourself out, but does that begin to, if you will, compromise natural bowel excretion?
No, it makes it more sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it so sensitive to the point. Okay, it's almost like when you get diagnosed with diabetes,
mm-hmm.
and they tell you frequent urination is a bad thing. Now think about frequent urination. Wouldn't that be a good thing to get rid of waste?
I would think so.
Okay, so but we're so backwards in this, with Western medicine has us so profoundly ignorant that what the enemas do is actually make your create within your body a sensitivity that your body is set up and so sensitive to putrid
Mm-hmm.
that it wants to eliminate it immediately. As soon as you eat it, it wants to eliminate it.
So in other words, as you just said in reference to in terms of diabetes, and it talks about frequent urination, is that, if you will, the abnormal is defining what normality is. So in other words, what medical the medical society and some doctors would say is that if your bladder doesn't hold this urine and this waste for a while, for long periods of time,
like saturated,
then that's abnormal.
Right.
But if you eliminate immediately the poisons that come in your body, according to them, that's abnormal.
Right.
Okay.
So what happens is, what enemas do is actually, it's like when you have a craving for it could be macaroni and cheese or whatever you're into, bread.
Mm-hmm.
What you're having a craving for is not the bread. What you're having a craving for is poison.
Mm.
So what the enemas do, the daily enemas do, is over a period of time, it cleans you out to a point where those cravings go away.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the transitional diet. You see what I'm saying? That's the real comfortable part. It's not saying transitional diet is not about not eating the stuff, just going. I would never tell nobody to fast for 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
or you know what I mean, or do this.
Right, because that's
But-
something you did for yourself.
Yeah, well,
Right.
I mean, I've done this for over 20 years. You know, I mean, this is started in the 70s.
Mm.
Yeah, so and we, you know, this is the only people that's really seriously practicing the mucusless diet in the country is here in Cincinnati.
Mhm.
People have taken it somewhere and really, I mean, if you want to know about enemas, and I mean, we've been doing enemas for some of us almost 30 years.
Mm.
Now, we can tell you about doing enemas every day. Are they harmful? But somebody who's writing about it in their books probably only did it for a week. It tells you, oh, well, you would use your electrolytes, you know, and whatever that is, you know. And so I always tell people, if you don't know how your body operates, you can be told anything. And
This is true.
And that's the genesis of what Western medicine, how Western medicine gets its legs.
What is the difference between an enema, a high enema, and a colonic, or now another term that is used, hydrotherapy? What's the difference? Are they similar? Are they exactly the same? Does one clean you out
Well,
more?
A lot of people say that the enemas don't get up into the upper intestines.
Okay.
Well, I guess not if you are 32 feet of impacted intestines. But believe me, it gets up in the upper intestines. You know, I done had it come out my mouth before. You see, so it's not so much about the hydrotherapy or the enema, it's about the person. You understand? It's about the person, where they're at. If you're 32 feet of impacted intestines and you do an enema, probably nothing wouldn't even come out.
Something else, a couple of other things that you and I have talked about, and there's some other fine points that I want to make, but we've talked about that people are dying. And matter of fact, I'm going to play a couple of cuts off of some different CDs that just kind of allude to some of the things that's happening with us as a people. But it's like, if we are eating and dying, then, as you and I have discussed, it's like, try not eating and live.
Yeah, well, that's
because
the laws of life.
Because most people, you know, I mean, my education said, you know, eat food, eat healthy food, quote unquote, eat healthy food and lengthen your life. But there are vegetarians that you know, I know, and some of those people have passed away, and they were, you know, vegetarians. But then it goes back to what kind of vegetarian were they? If they were vegetarians, but they, you know, ate a lot of the grains and et cetera, so it creates a problem.
Well, the vegetarian, the mucus vegetarian, and the pus vegetarian, people who say they're vegetarian and eat and say they eat fish, and I always say, well, take me to your garden. So I want to see you pick some fish. You know, I want to see what that garden look like.
Right.
You know, so it is about trying to become mucusless. I mean, so many people call me from all over, man. I mean, and I mean, vegans and you know, vegetarians and just these raw food people. Well, that's another whole faddish, really uneducated.
So raw foods, what is that all about?
Well, it's all about grains and starches. That's what it's all about, you know. And but they claim to be eating raw, but I always say, well, if you're eating raw, then show me the raw food person who's eating fruits and green leafy plants. Don't show me the raw fooders who eat all the nuts and the grains, and you know that's just mucus, and so I mean that's just stimulant. You know, I could do that standing on my head. You know.
What about, and of course, anytime one fasts, you know, things that are no longer good for us and we get rid of, but people, in terms of long fasts, think of, okay, what if I start losing a whole lot of weight? Is that something that has affected you, and does it stabilize after a while?
Well, I don't think about weight because people would tell me, well, wow, you're getting there. But what does health really look like in a land, in a society of pus and mucus eaters?
And fat folks.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's eating this dope. Everybody thinking that food is what's keeping them alive. And if everybody's eating a diet, then why don't we stop eating?
We also, you know, because we've talked a lot, we talk all the time, but in reference to the ultimate level, you know, we're talking about a mucusless diet, talk about fasting, you know, 7-8 month fast. And you mentioned earlier about, you know, the body, we're air gas engine.
Yeah.
And so I remember reading a book by Yogananda, who was a yogi. Yeah. And there was I believe a woman, and it was the one case that I had only read about in that particular book, and I believe that there are others I haven't read about them, but there was one case, I believe it was a woman who, according to the doctors, she was not consuming food, she was not consuming any fluids, and she was alive and well, and she had reached an old age, and she was what they were defining as a breatharian.
Right. Well,
just no consumption of any solid food, water, but just breathing air. So is that something that ultimately, in your mind, for yourself, is where you will go to?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about that.
Breatharianism is what I'm trying to achieve, and it's all about the blood. It's all about the blood. You can clean your blood up because a pure black body light. You see, so, and it absorbs all that energy. I mean, we're like little black holes, but we're not human yet. You see, and that's the sad part about where we're at in this world, is that we're not human yet, because the only thing that makes perfect human blood is fruit. And you can't go to a lot of fruitarians, you see. And so, I mean, we can get into a lot of the elements of, you know, the iron in the blood and atoms, and really get into the primary table and things, but that's not what people understand. I'm trying to talk to people about, you are digging your grave with your teeth. And in terms of all this violence going on in our communities and around the world, it's all based on stimulant.
Well, that's a good point. And brothers and sisters, the program is Talking Drum. My name is Dr. Drum, and also Oginga Khamisi. Some folks say, why you stop calling yourself Dr. Drum? Well, I had a wonderful conversation with a brother during Juneteenth, and we made a lot of sense out of things, but in terms of names. And I'm Oginga Khamisi. Many of you know me to be a restorer of percussive instruments, and specifically drums. And I've done it so long, and I have more or less 3 PhDs in the area. So Dr. Drum was very fitting. But either or both. But the program again is Talking Drum. My guest is Dr. Willie Smart. who is coming off of an 8-month fast, no food, no water, as he said, some pineapple juice every other day or so at night. And so he is here alive. I'm not talking to an iRobot with Will Smith. I'm talking to Willie Smart. And so, we won't be doing a phone-in. I don't think we're going to get to a phone-in tonight, but at least some of the information that he is going to share. So we're going to proceed. I want to hit a couple of more points, and then I'm going to play, a selection from this one CD. A little later on, selection from another CD that I have. And then, of course, Brother Willie, Dr. Willie, has brought a recent CD that he just completed, which was really a coming off of this 8-month fast type of musical, spiritual journey. So we'll feature some of the music from that particular CD. But the liberation movement and boycott, black on black violence and reparations. How does that all tie into this mucusless diet?
The liberation movement here in Cincinnati could be summed up by, from what I'm hearing, is that a lot of the so-called revolutionary brothers that's involved in the boycott, and we've turned, they're hanging down in June bugs. That says it all. Mm-hmm. That's a signal of the vitality of the community. Mm-hmm. That a real joy would be the gathering spot for the so-called intelligentsia of the community that is fighting. It's like, how can you fight the oppressor when you live just like the oppressor?
And and I'm going to let you finish your point in dealing with this question, but a mutual friend of both yourself and mine, and obviously, you know him for a long time, Brother Jerry Higgins. And I'll never forget, and this was when we were in our old studio and when Jerry was living here in Cincinnati. And a lot of us, talked about revolution. We talked about the Panthers and, the different organizations that were around that were pushing for the liberation of African people and our rights as human beings. And one of the things that has always stuck in my mind, a conversation that Brother Jerry and myself had, he said, a lot of brothers and sisters really have some fine points about being a revolutionary. He said, but how much of a revolutionary are you when you have to go to the major grocery stores here in the city of Cincinnati or anywhere else, and you buy the food that is produced by someone else, the very people that you say are your enemies, and you're calling yourself a revolutionary? He said, we have to get into growing our own food, because then that's revolution, when we're producing our own food, consuming that we eat, vegetables, fruits, and that has never left me, because every revolutionary that I know, quote unquote revolutionary, so-called revolutionary, want to be revolutionary, used to be revolutionary, still go into the major grocery stores to consume foods, but yet they say they're revolutionaries, and also that it is like can't get off the plantation. Got to go in a different way, but still there. So I think real revolution would be, because revolution is about change, is that not only do we change habits that we have, bad habits, eating habits, but also begin those kind of programs like community gardens. You see, Europeans.
I have my garden at home.
Well, I got land. I haven't put the garden up yet, but I got land.
The garden, but see, being a musician, and being a musician for a long time, really being interested since I was 5 years old. I kind of knew what I wanted to be. And my family and uncles and fathers and everybody would always, as I was growing up, and I know you heard this, being a musician, well, you got to eat.
Right.
Well, no, I don't have to eat. You see, I said that I was going to try to, really dove into that, because every time I would hear some people would say, well, you got to eat, I might have to compromise to do this. So don't be a musician, have something to fall back on. So that was really kind of, for better word, getting in my crawl for years. So, and I didn't eat, So, I mean, you talk about the ultimate saving money and
right.
revolutionary.
Right.
I wasn't eating.
Right.
So.
And you've put it's been a real sacrifice, but a sacrifice for self and family. Yeah. And that's a big feat to go without eating. I remember stories about Mahatma Gandhi, and he would go on these long fasts and things like that. But I think that a lot of people, as you had said earlier, with the Mucusless Diet Healing System, that the few of you here in the city of Cincinnati are the only ones, to your knowledge, in the United States.
Well, Aaliyah Africa, he came in town a while ago.
Now, he is the author of some books on health and nutrition.
African holistic medicine, I believe, and nutricide, I believe. But he said that we were the only ones that he knew that was as serious as we were, that he knew in the country. That he had never, he knew about the mucusless diet, but he dared practice it. He even uses references in his book. But it was a little bit too much for him to practice, and that's another story, about dealing with him. I kind of got a chance to get to know him pretty good, and
well, and we're going to take a break in a minute, but and I've said this before, because there's different people over time that I mentioned, have passed away, and especially inside of the cultural community, we've lost some good brothers and good sisters. And every time it happens, and people say, well, don't question the creator and creator's work, and we just have to continue, those of us who are alive, like I read in a Mother Jones magazine years ago, says pray for the dead and fight like hell for the living. But I have in the past maybe 2-3 years, after seeing some of the brothers and sisters in the cultural community leave here, I said, and just quoting, some scriptures, or in all thy getting, get understanding. If we got PhDs, master degrees, associates, bachelors, what have you, and we know all these things, we can tell everybody from can to can or whatever.
Put the whole social piece together in terms of what we should be doing in our communities.
But then they don't know anything about.
They get a sniffle and they on their back.
Right, or run to a doctor to get some pills, which.
But see, it comes down to, if you're talking about revolution, and if someday we get in the trenches, but you got to leave up out of the trenches to go get your prescription filled. that just ain't feasible.
Or the other scenario, you're in the trenches and the enemy, if you will, is on the other side. And all of a sudden you smell some barbecue cooking, and the guy say, look, it ain't, I ain't ate in a few days, and I'm getting ready to wave the white flag because I got to get up out of this hole because I'm hungry.
Well, that will happen. That will surely happen with what we call revolutionaries in this country, because No one, because we're a bunch of stomachs. You know, we are truly a bunch of stomachs. We cannot control ourselves because we're all dope heads. We're all drug addicts. And, you know, it's like we elevated, you know, like the crack and the cocaine. Those are the real drug addicts.
Sure.
But the chicken eater is a real drug addict. You know, the pig eater, the fish eater, the mucus eater is a real drug addict. We just do not understand the whole physiology piece yet and haven't really, you can't, it's like a foundation. You got to build a house on a foundation.
Sure.
Before you can.
Well, we're going to take a break for a moment, and we're going to come back with Dr. Willie Smart, Brother Smart, who has come off of an 8-month fast, no food, no water, and again, he is here. While I play some music, if you'd like to call him and talk to him off air, 749-1444-961-8900. Well, we're back with Dr. Brother Willie Smart and talking about him coming off his fast, but we've talked about the Mucusless Diet Healing System, and want to talk about the underdeveloped human and religious dogma.
Oh, well, the undeveloped human, we refer to the undeveloped human and the religious dogma as animals. And we could think in terms of us as a certain animal. Well, the state that we live in, we are certainly animals. You know, we eat just like animals. You know, we die just like animals. So when we say undeveloped human, we're talking about animals who are undeveloped humans. It's kind of like if you would have someone in your family who's a little slow, you wouldn't eat them, would you? You see. So so we want to answer the questions of as far as undeveloped humans, as far as the animals are. It can be explained in terms of a dog, or, you know, and basically, I mean, to get through all the elements, basically, they ate themselves to those levels. I mean, they got caught in that block in terms of embryology. That's something else, genetics, something else we need to study more of. But they ended up getting stopped in the block of development, and that's how they became. Because if you look at an embryo at a certain stage of an embryo, it all looks the same, from a dog to an ant to a bumblebee to a octopus. At one point, that embryo all looks the same. Then it goes down that canal, and it becomes a dog, a gorilla, a human, you know, and when it becomes an animal, it's just not fully developing. That's all it is. But we have no right to eat them.
Now, let me ask another question, Willie, because as you were, you know, and I knew that there would be some things that
and I know that's some strange to listen to, because nobody never asked how these things, everybody kind of like, what did Marx say, the opiate of the people was religion. So everybody is into the religion without asking the questions. You know, it's like, well, God made animals and they were here, and that's just the end of it. You know, but I want some answers. And everything can be explained in this universe.
Let me ask this question for mothers. And let's just say that a mother, because I'm giving some thought to this as I'm thinking about it, just trying to visualize a mother who is, say, a breatharian,
Right.
and she becomes pregnant, and I would think, obviously, if she's a breatharian, she would only want air for her child. But realistically, if she was a breatharian and she needed or felt that there was something that she needed to do in terms of nursing the child, how would you, deal with that?
A breatharian would really not have any need to refine himself.
Okay.
You understand? The refinement process in terms of birthing comes out of death. See, life and death is unnatural. So birthing process is actually a refinement process. The universe is always going to give you a chance to refine yourself. You see, because death is unnatural. So a breatharian would have no need to refine himself.
So not, in other words, not to have a child.
Yeah, I mean, what would be the point? I mean, it's perfection. You see what I'm saying? Birthing actually came out of imperfection. You understand what I'm saying? So birthing actually came out of imperfection.
So then I guess.
So what you were asking was really about like a mother. Let's say a mother, because we ultimately want to make something better than ourselves.
Sure.
Okay, so the road to doing that is actually trying to become mucusless. Ultimately a fruitarian. And so you got to make something 1 + 1 once again. 1 + 1 = 2. You got to make something better than yourself.
So
we're not making people better than ourselves now.
Right.
See, we're making a fraction of a fraction. Our children are a fraction of a fraction of us. You see, so they actually are more sensitive to the foods that we ate. So when they eat it, they get fatter quicker.
Sure.
They get sicker quicker. They don't live as long. You see, so
if people, and maybe to some degree, at least in our generation, and maybe not, for people to start at least a process of cleaning themselves up. But is it conceivable or inconceivable now to think that if one becomes a breatharian, that since they're not eating, and as we've already discussed, people are eating and they're dying, okay, so why not eat? Why not eat? Then are we to say that if one were not to eat, then he or she would never die?
Exactly.
Physically never die, as we know this physical body.
The implications of V = P minus O, vitality = power minus obstruction, is immortality. Vitality = power minus obstruction. You understand? Minus obstruction.
And the obstruction in mucus, pus, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, that would be in your body. Your body is an air gas engine. I mean, it's like, to not get into, once again, a lot of the elements, but if your body was clean and you were to get cut or something, as soon as that blood would hit the air, it would clot because it would be so clean. That's the iron. See, when we talk about iron in the blood, not the iron you go buy at the health food store
or the scrapyard.
Yeah, well,
but to a degree.
Well, just the iron tablets that they take. Well, we need iron.
Right.
But the concept is so erroneous the way they think of it, because when you see a piece of iron and you see that rust on the side of it, that's the way our blood should look, that color. See, that's the whole oxidation of what we're talking about. And our blood don't look like that. And that's why it's so it's like the height of folly to hear somebody talk about what you call blood clot. That somebody had a blood clot and they died. That's a joke. Our blood can't clot. Come on. I mean, you know what's running through us? This stuff runs like water, man. So what happened, the clot actually was pus and mucus that stopped the flow of air. And that's what happened. But these...
So somehow that build up, you know, like, because as you said that, I'm visualizing a television commercial that talked about heart attacks and stroke.
Well, and you know what they say about heart attack. There's no such thing as a heart attack. You attack your heart.
Yeah, right.
You know, that's,
but what they were showing was it was a bunch of men. They were and they were to represent the blood flowing through the body.
Okay.
And you know, they was like walking through this hallway or whatever.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, because of, you know, the build up of you know, the inside of the arteries, you know, one stopped, then another one hit it and got lodged, and eventually there was no flow. So
of air.
Of air, because blood obviously is carrying oxygen. So that obstruction, that buildup was not the blood. The blood was doing what it normally does, flows. But then the oozing from the veins, the arteries, it was pus, it was mucus that was oozing in to block this natural flow. So,
and the blood at this point is turned into nothing but pus and mucus. Look, chicken does not make blood. You know what I mean?
Right.
Beef does not make blood.
Right.
See, you know, everything breaks down to a sugar, but it can't break down to, I mean, you can't break down pork chops into that much sugar. You know what I mean?
Right.
It turns into pus. And so, I mean, that's what that piece is about, man. And the melanin piece that people are really high on in terms of the black community, talking about melanin, man. That's as erroneous as Caucasians talking about protein. You know, there's no such thing as protein. Pro meaning first, teen meaning principal. Vitamins. The word vitamin comes from cashmere funk. And what he did was, he was on a ship and the men around him came down with what they were calling rickets, getting sick, laying around, snot coming out their nose, pus coming from everywhere. And what Dr. Cashmere did was he took some rice and melted it down, put it in syringes, and gave them shots. And he noticed that it stimulated the men. So the men thought they were getting better because they were all high now, basically. So what he wrote in his journal was that the serum actually vitalized the men. Vitalize the men. Vitamin. That's where the word comes from. It has nothing to do with anything in your body. But we've turned that into something based on, once again, if you don't know how your body operates, then you can be told anything.
And that is another very important point, that most people rely on, hopefully, a doctor when they get ill, feel ill, to help them become well, when in most cases people go to a doctor, the doctor says, what's your problem? And you tell him what he did not know.
Right.
And then he says, okay, I prescribe this based on his orientation, his schooling says that the pharmaceuticals has a list of pills
Let's
that
talk
for this.
about pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, oh, big time, because that's a big industry now. But they have a list of pills that some of them for this kind of condition may help it some way. And so now you have, especially a lot of elderly people and young folks too, 40 pills to wake up, 100 pills while you're moving around during the day sluggishly, and then 10 pills to go to sleep at night.
And then we call a crackhead a dope head.
Well,
see, I mean,
right.
You know, 40 pills, 30 pills.
Right.
The holistic community, and I was there at the turn of this piece, the holistic community, when all the health food stores started coming down the pike in the early 80s, and the holistic community, everybody started writing a book on organic this and holistic this, and oh man, all the holistic community did was they just flipped your stimulant. They got you off of the antibiotics and on to the echinacea. You see what I'm saying? So now, if I'm $1 billion pharmaceutical company and I see a segment of my population going in that direction, wouldn't you buy up some fields and start playing echinacea?
Sure.
Yeah, so
it's about dollars and cents.
Yeah, see, because so you're gonna go over here and you're just looking for another stimulant. See, everybody who got into the holistic community, Dick Gregory, Lalia Africa, Queen of Fua, we got a local lady, Denise Davis, who's telling people don't eat bananas and apples, who is just a complete loon, because when you go in anybody's house, you could go in the biggest flesh eater's house in the world, and you're gonna see, at least you're gonna see a banana and an apple. She's telling them don't eat bananas and apples. So this is how crazy the whole holistic community has gotten. Dick Gregory comes in town and promotes a chocolate bar. A chocolate bar, you know, a hard bar that he calls a hard bar that is going to clear the arteries.
So, in essence,
everybody's basically became charlatans and really taking advantage. I mean, Lalia Africa told me, he said, man, they don't want to hear that. Just tell them what they want to hear.
And I assume that there are people in the quote unquote health field of holistic health that are doing just that, you know. And again, even inside there, where some people say, well, you know, folks who have health stores and they're into helping people, they're into making some money.
Well, it comes down to everybody's about, I mean, the whole, even like the whole piece in our communities, the so-called African historians and everybody is really about, as I say, getting our man, I'm losing my thought because I ate. But it's about reading the review of the movie and not going to see the movie. That's what study in America is predicated on right now. Nobody gets in the trenches and really knows. I know something about health now, a little bit. I mean, we don't know everything,
right?
But we have a little piece of how we can change the whole foundation of this piece. So that's what I'm talking about. We need folks to really get in the trenches, with their study, and basically basically just go a little deeper, go a little deeper with their study.
Okay. Now, in terms of the some of the chronic illnesses and being diagnosed with AIDS or SARS,
Yeah.
what's that all about in your perspective?
It's basically there's all diseases, no matter what you call it. It could be AIDS, it could be diabetes, it could be cancer. It's nothing but a form of constipation. Something is obstructing the blood from flowing. That's all it is. With AIDS, I go around to AIDS conferences. They throw me out, because they don't like the things that I'm talking about. And basically, with AIDS is that what you want to do is let me think about. There's no such thing as AIDS.
Okay.
There's no such thing as AIDS. My thing is, show me one person who's died of undiagnosed HIV. Like someone they found in an alley somewhere, and they did an autopsy, and they opened him up and or her, and they say, well, wow, she was HIV positive, and we didn't know. See, it doesn't happen until they get diagnosis. And it's almost like a prescription of death is what's happening in America in terms of chronic illness. They telling you when you're going to die. It's almost like you're going to die. Why? Because if you don't know the mechanics of how your body operates, you can be told anything.
And even though I know you've spoken of Dick Gregory and your experience back in the 70s, and then the fact that there's a chocolate bar, whatever he was pushing, but I also just recently played a CD with Dick Gregory, and it was the State of the Union address, Dick Gregory's State of the Union address 2-3 weeks ago. And one of the things that he said, that he was diagnosed with cancer, of which the kind of cancer he had is something that you would get from being around nuclear power plants and what have you. But the point that I want to make with that, not so much to focus on him having cancer, but the fact that he actually said that most people automatically freak out just because the doctor said, you got cancer. A lot of people just accept that face value and then, start panicking and other things. Now, obviously, some people maybe feel ill. They feel the need to go to the doctor, and without the right kind of education or the study like yourself, of course, the norm, the abnorm, if you will, says go to the doctor, tell him what's wrong, get this information prescribed to you, et cetera, et cetera. But the point that I want to make about Dick Gregory and what he said, too many times, we're told, okay, you got cancer, or you got this or that, or you're uneducated and you can't make it in life, you can't do nothing, this, that, and the other, and we just stop right there.
Right.
And we got to go beyond. There's a doctor by the name of, I think it's Dr. Larry Clapp.
Okay.
And Larry produced a book called Prostrate Health in 90 Days Without Drugs, Surgery, and it was something else.
Right.
And matter of fact, I have the book and the tape. Right. But he was saying he was a doctor himself. Right. He was diagnosed with prostate cancer by another doctor, and he sought to get a second opinion. And he sought to do alternative ways of curing himself. One, he wasn't going to succumb to surgery and any of the drugs, so he got on a regimented first fast and then raw fruits and vegetables.
There it is. First how does he know he's sick? What did he have a cold? Was his stomach hurting? You see what I'm saying? What was the symptoms that made him go to the doctor?
Right.
And it starts right there. You see, and right there,
right.
you can tell somebody the simplest thing. Look, oh well, I'm sick. My nose is running. Okay, well, stop eating.
Right.
Just stop eating, and it will go away. You know.
All right. Well, we're going to take another break, and we're going to come back with Dr. Willie Smart, who has just come off a 8-month fast, and as I said, a fast of no food, no water, just pineapple juice, and that was, every other day or so. So we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. The program is Talking Drum. My name is Oginga Khamisi. Some of you know me as Dr. Drum, or call me Dr. Drum. Because, I dealt with that some time ago on the program, and I got a lot of calls about instruments, and specifically instruments with pre-animal hides.
Right.
Like the log drum or the crin or the kellen or the
body. Your body.
Or the body.
And that was a part of the study that I really what was revealed to me was in the study of an instrument was I had to develop the instrument. The instrument wasn't my drums, it was me. This instrument. And so if I could develop this instrument, then what would come out as far as the drums that I play, you use them as a tool and you could better get out what you're trying to say. So, I mean, you have some of the music here.
And I would like to, because we've had a couple of musical breaks, but I do want to get into a piece now. I think it was the number 3. Was that the one with the marimba in it?
Yeah.
And that was a nice piece. But let's tell us about, about the CD. It has 4 cuts on it, and they're kind of long cuts, but we're not going to be able to get into, all 4 pieces. But why this CD? What inspired you to do this CD? And I've kind of alluded to the fact that you've come off this fast, and it's kind of a spiritual thing, but tell us about it.
Well, it's been 4 years in the making of this music, and it was really the start of